Hello, everybody. I know it's been a last little while since I streamed, but we're back at it again with another tier list this time. And this time it's going to be Anemo. I don't think there's going to be too many hot takes when it comes to, like, actually doing Anemo. But I can't think there's going to be that many, like, not good ones either. We'll see. We've got Callum on here again, so if... Well, for those who haven't caught the first time, Callum, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. My name is Komon. I
Hello?
am a I am
I
a
don't have Discord muted,
Prince
do I?
Cup. I
Oh no,
I don't
I
think you
can't hear
have.
you.
Maybe you have
Ah, there you are.
a little scuff, but yeah.
It's a VTuber
The stream
stream.
can hear you.
Ah, it's a VTuber stream. It's always going to be some degree scuffed. I feel like if there is no scuff to a VTuber stream, it is just not a VTuber stream.
Fair enough. But yeah, my name is Komon. I am technically a Prince Cup player, not quite like a top 8 or anything. I did barely get in, but I still got in. Top 24, I believe. I won one set. And yep. All in all, I know some stuff. Not quite the best player, but should be good enough for a ranking.
I mean, I feel like you're very qualified to do ranking. Yeah, a win is a win. Like, yeah, since
Yeah.
I've got to run the stream anyways, I think let me just open up the Twitch chat as well and then just pop that out. Since I have to run both, I thought I would only be able to run one. Wait, did it log me out of... It logged me out of my Twitch.
Should be fine.
It should be. I should be able to pop out the chat anyways. I don't know why I did that. Oh no. I should be able to okay, I will have to sort this out after stream. But pop out chat regardless. I just won't be able to type in it. I'll have to use the OBS chat. Oh, and then you set the other one to live chat. Wait, there we go. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about Twitch chat then. Okay.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
Cube's here. Hi, Cube.
Oh, hey, it is a cube. Hi, Cube. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah. What do you mean tier list is full of mid? Like, I feel like that statement isn't very true. But I guess the best way to counter that is to just kind of get into it. And I think let's start with the character that everybody gets at the start. And that's just Sucrose. Like, in your opinion, where you think Sucrose goes? Because I think Sucrose is maybe a weird benchmark of average. Since all characters do something akin to what she does, where it's Jean either swapping, Kazuha making a summon, like, she does a kind of a lot of things, but she's not good at any of them.
Yeah, she has literally 0 decks. She was used in the Anemo back in like 3.45, something like that. Just because of her talent and getting the +1 damage buff from a talent of all things is pretty much useless nowadays. You can get that from Shenhe. You can get that Farzan burst without a talent. She's basically unplayable in my opinion. I don't think there's any reason to play her over anybody else in any deck.
I mean, that's actually very fair.
Strong.
No, that's incredibly fair. I've completely forgot about her talent even being a thing, and I guess that's part of why she's just bad. Like, she brings nothing to the table.
The main reason you play her
is just talent, but then you now have Farazan who does the exact same thing with a burst, and then you don't even need to play her talent. So, like, Okay, I can see Sucrose in literally unplayable. I stand corrected before the pre-stream chats here. Like,
Yeah.
but I guess to a degree it's fair, right? Because Sucrose is the first character you get, like I said. So having her be so incredibly strong wouldn't be balanced, I suppose. You have to have someone that's kind of a teachable character but doesn't hold up well in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure you get Fischl from the tutorial, and she was like one of the best characters for a while. But yeah, outside of her, pretty much all of them are bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But Fischl as well doesn't see, I want to say, like, as much play anymore. Now you just have Yai
Oh yeah,
Miko. Like, Yai Miko just does everything Fischl wants to do aside from the burst, which has Pierce. So, also, chat saying, Cube and Vanadium is saying that she's just Jean but with less HP and they think that she needs 12 HP like Jean. I think 12 HP won't even fix it. Like,
I actually think 12 HP might fix her, specifically because they might be able to go back. You might be able to play her back in the old Anemo lists, like let's say Mona Jean Sucrose with two 12 HP characters now, or now Kokomi Jean Sucrose could be a 36 HP build. So
I can see that, but it's a difficult sell when you have Lynette. Because in my opinion, Lynette's healing basically makes her have virtually more than 10 HP. But it's not more than 10 HP.
yeah,
So,
but at least it 12 HP could definitely help. I'm not saying she's gonna be the best, but she could be playable.
I think having a swap on her skill is good. Like 3 damage and then swapping them is basically what Jean has. I think she maybe just for a buff would need a new burst. Something like the burst forces them to swap as well might make it do something good.
I mean, the burst is pretty good as is, given that it deals 2 damage 3 times. Like it doesn't need much more. It's just that she doesn't do anything with it. Like she needs to get to the burst to be useful, and even then, like
That's
even
a
if
fair
it
take.
was swapping, nobody would really care.
Why don't they just give her a way to buff reactions like the normal Genshin? That could be an interesting take. Have another character that's not Shenhe that interacts with swirling different elements.
I mean, she does that. She buffs on with her talent. She buffs the element that she swirls with her burst. So she already has that.
Isn't it the damage that gets buffed, not
Yes.
the swirl?
It includes swirl, I believe.
Let's check. If I can find her. Under S. S.
It just says deal +1 damage of the elemental type that you swirled.
Oh, no, then she does buff reaction damage. So I feel like
Yeah.
the longer we talk, the funnier it is because we mention talent and then we immediately forget about talent.
I mean, she is just talent, but the talent is not particularly good.
Okay, fair enough. But you know, so I think Cube says that she could go in below average, but we're calling literally unplayable because there's no reason to play her over anybody else.
I mean, you could put her there, but I consider them basically the same in this context. I'm not gonna play her either way.
Fair enough. So I think let's put her at top of literally unplayable, but the closest to being below average.
For now, sure.
I'm gonna mix these up a little bit as well, because I'm noticing I've got like clumps of really, really good characters between like other characters. Okay, so next up is Zhanyun. I think Zhanyun is just meta defining. I think when she came out, people were trying to figure out a home for her, because I know I'm guilty of this. I said that she applies way too much Anemo to do anything else, and then she ended up just defining mid-range for multiple patches. especially with Kuki Shinobu. She just is the meta pick now for Anemo midrange.
I mean, yeah, I would basically agree with it. I don't think she is quite as good of a pick now after the nerfs, but I do think she will keep finding a home exactly with Shinobu. So I don't think there's much to say, except like you could argue that nowadays she's worse, but it's not like she's unplayable. And when she was good, she was really good. So you she could be meta defining, she could be consistently good depending on where you think, depending on what you're rating exactly.
For me, I would struggle to put her anywhere less than meta defining because her mid-range decks were basically always just a combination of we have Kuki Shinobu Janyun and then pick an elemental applier. Like Hydro Abyss Herald got nerfed and the deck basically didn't change, it just went to La Senora. And pretty much you could play whatever, how do I put this? Any character that could apply an element while dealing enough damage. And I think her La Senora Kuki Shinobu version is actually the better version of her than Herald. Just because you've got such tempo gain in having a 0 cost swap and 2 elements applications for 3 dice.
I mean, yeah. I don't think there's honestly much more to say. Like, she's just good in mid-range. She has the healing, she has the cost reduction for swapping, which typically mid-range decks would want to swap anyway to balance out the reactions or the damage taken, maybe activate some artifacts or weapons that have once per round effects. So she has the swap synergy, she has the healing, she has reactions.
She also has a very good technique. I think her technique is insanely undervalued.
I mean,
it's basically just 2 Mondstadt hash browns shoved into a single card.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. I just like you can fit it in. It's an option. Honestly, I think.
For
I
me,
think
it's the
more
fact that
than
it's free. Like, you don't have to change your deck in any way just to get her technique.
Yeah.
It is just a free aspect. So
yeah, it's an option.
I think putting her here, she'll probably dip down a little bit as we move on characters. But I think here is a good place to start her.
Sure.
It's like Cube says as well, her damage nowadays is kind of lacking after the nerf, but she's fine. And I'll agree on that. I feel like her strength wasn't ever her single damage. It was just the amount of reactions that she could do just by existing. Which,
I mean, yeah, that's why you have a third character in the deck.
yeah, which brings us to, in my opinion, a really hot take of Mago Kenki. Because I think Mago Kenki isn't that good. They've got the, what is it, Kojo Sara, Mago Kenki, and I can never remember the third character. The one that tries and sets up the 3 summons and then gets like an OTK or something with it. I'm not actually sure how the deck works. I just run into it sometimes and it does things and I don't understand it.
Here's the thing. If I'm pretty sure I know which deck you're talking about. I don't remember the third character either. I haven't seen it in forever. But also I have seen many variations of it. I think personally that Magu Kenki does have a role, and he always will have a role, because every single time you forget about him, some player seems to figure out some very niche strategy, and he just comes back. He's not like a meta threat, but he always has the ability to play some sort of role. Just the ability to guarantee to more or less set up swirl reactions through summons, but with just one character is powerful, especially since one of them is Anemo, which can be really good. Can be insane for spreading other elements or reactions. I do think he is. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's really good. I think niche is the perfect place to put him because, as I said, he will find a place, but he's never gonna find a lot of places.
I think that's a super solid call. Like, I was gonna put him in niche, and that's why I put him there to start off with, because it's like you said, he disappears for a little while, and then he just kind of aura farms in the back until someone figures out what to do with him. And then, like, you know, the boss fight where the mask just opens up? He just kind of sits there aura farming, and then the mask opens up and suddenly a million things are happening and you don't really know what's going on because the player has cooked to such a degree that only they actually know how to pilot the deck. So it's like always a threat, but never big enough of a threat that you need to build a deck around him or bring summon hate like Send Off or Lament. I can never remember the Lament Shao card, but that 4-cost one that just destroys all summons.
I don't think you need to remember the name. I don't think you're ever gonna see it.
But that's what I'm
But
saying.
yeah.
Like, he's there. You kind of have to know how to deal with him when you see him, but you're probably never gonna see him, is the weird thing. So I think face of niche is just Magokenki. I don't think, even outside of Anemo, I can't think of a lot of characters that are just more niche but good than what Magokenki is. Because he's such a weird character, like you said, being able to set up his own summons to get his own swirl off and then have a burst that triggers them both. He's kind of like a self-contained cryo swirl machine.
Yeah.
On a random thought I had now, like, do you think maybe buffing Magokenki to 12 HP could make him see more play?
I mean, I don't think that changes the decks he tends to see play in. I do think, obviously, it's gonna help. Any buff is a buff, but
It lets him face tank just a little bit more damage to maybe get a burst off or more comfortably open on him, I want to say. Like, you can do summon and then Vanarana to carry over the other 2 dice without having to worry about swapping over. Kind of like a seahorse situation, but where he's setting up the summons instead of being resistant to them.
I mean, yeah, he's obviously it's gonna help, but I don't think there's any deck where it's gonna push him over the edge. Like, I don't think he has any place in stall ever.
Fair enough. That's actually fair enough. It's not like Chiori, Kokumi, Zhongli, the deck I know you've been playing a lot of recently, where the 12 HP just kind of pushes that deck into being able to survive while you can set up those summons that are just incredibly dangerous with Zhongli talent.
Yeah, he did have an Oceanid list at some point. I think it was before the Oceanid nerfs, but maybe if they push both of those characters to 12 HP, I could definitely see it coming back. But as of right now, I think he's just in a fine spot. I don't think he even needs the 12 HP.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Then another character I don't want to call niche and I want to call good is Kazuha, because it's the same thing of like, Kazuha doesn't show up often, but when he does show up, he kind of does things. I know Kevin took Kazuha, it wasn't to win Prince Cup, but I know, did he win Prince Cup with it, where he ran like La Senora, Kazuha, and another one? I know Blep made a video on it. Let me see if I can find the deck that he was playing in.
Don't remember. I'm gonna be honest with you.
That's fine. Let me see if I can find this, because I'm pretty sure Kevin took Kave and not Kave, took Kazuha and did something actually really good with it. Yeah, no, it was Prince Cup.
Mona, Kazuha, La Senora, yeah.
Yeah, Mona, Kazuha, La Senora. So, like, I don't want to discount how good Kazuha can be. I think he's got a really good tempo advantage, where that swapping kind of does good things, but it's more incidental. I think the buff that he got, where I can't remember what exactly the buff wording is. Let me grab the buff wording exactly, but I think the buff wording really did actually help him a lot more. I think it made the plunge more instant. Question mark. This is so scuffed today. Like, show me this
Didn't it make
man's...
it so that if he's the only character left, it still works? Or
Yeah, there was some change with the actual plunge aspect. Why can I not find a change like list here? But being able to do that plunge like in a 1v1 situation really actually does do a lot for the character. Yeah, I can't find a change history. I know a change exists for him, but I can't find it at the moment, which is a little bit sad. So, what, we're gonna settle on good for Kazuha?
yeah, I don't think he's ever gonna be meta defining. I think Janyon kind of took his spot in swap centric decks. Before that it was Venti, and Venti still maybe could pop up. I don't think Kazuha is the go-to, but he definitely can do some work. So yeah, good.
Fair enough. I think his personal damage is also isn't too terrible, and being able to infuse elements on his normal attack lets you kind of get swirls you wouldn't expect to have been able to gotten. Like you could infuse swirl hydro and then apply maybe pyro, switch back to Kazuha, and then get a vape hit, or for someone who shouldn't be getting vape hits. I think also being sword, like a sword user and being able to use Sapwood Blade is a big advantage to him. That's something I forgot about, because his plunge has a unique interaction with Sapwood Blade, where when you do the plunge, it counts and then triggers Sapwood Blade, so you do get the dice refund.
That's not a unique interaction.
I mean, I can't think of
Plunges are
another...
normal attacks.
Sure, but I can't think of another character that's a sword user that can actually take advantage of that. Where you can put the weapon, get the swirl, and then swap or use their skill, and then the normal attack sort of free after that, and then get it that way.
I mean, yeah, I don't think there's any character that does that, but honestly, I would rather have the normal attack first so I can get the dice to use on the skill.
That's fair. That's fair. Now one I really don't know what to do is Snake. Because Snake is really scary of a card before they like had all the nerfs to the Consecrated Beast deck. So like, I'll let you take this one, honestly, because...
Snake good.
Snake good.
Very good.
Snake good, Snake very good. I think that's a solid way to put it. Like, I think if they didn't nerf it, the Snake, Scorpion, and what was the third character that they used? I think it was in the era of Hyper Magic as well.
Whale. It was Whale.
Yeah, that honestly makes sense. Where you just had the most heinous of nukes from Snake out of nowhere because, wow. And now Navia just does what Snake does, apparently.
I mean, yeah.
So like, where would
honestly,
you, like, are we just gonna stick with good? Above Kazuha, below Kazuha?
above Kazuha.
Above
Because
Kazuha.
I think they're still definitely going to be releasing discard synergy. I don't see them stopping soon. Maybe it's slow, but they are going to keep releasing it, and he's only going to get better.
That's honestly
just
very fair.
If anything, just the skill being deal 3 damage, draw a card by just good. I could see him outside of full-on discard decks just because drawing a card could be nice.
Fair enough. That's actually fair. Like, thinking about it now, Anemo characters have actually gotten a fair amount of random nerfs. Like, what? 2 out of the 3 characters we've... 2 out of the 5 characters we've spoken about now have gotten nerfs. And just been good.
3 of them, yeah.
Wait, who was nerfed? I know it was Zhan Yun, Snake.
Kinky.
Wait, was Kinky nerfed?
In the very first patch, yeah.
Okay, that's actually wild. I didn't even know that. So
That was
basically,
that
over
was the
half.
weirdest balance decision they've ever made because the deck was discovered like a week before the patch drop.
Okay, that's really funny, honestly. But like, Anemo is such a weird element to talk about because it's either really good until it gets nerfed, or it's just consistent or horrible. But yeah. So like, now let's go. Shall we do recently buffed and go with Jean?
Sure.
I think Jean's a weird character for me to talk about because she can either go into mid-range or she can go into stall, but there's also been some weird aggro versions of her with Lynette.
Those are based stall, mid range, and aggro are all the same deck. It's just double animal, her and Lynette. Yep.
So like, consistently good question mark, especially now with the buff. Because her having 12 HP and being able to live to get her burst is actually a little bit disgusting in my opinion. I played a bit with a double Anemo deck. Just to try and like see how the buff would affect her. And her and Kokomi both having a buff, yeah, it just does things that it shouldn't be doing.
I personally think she's just average. I don't think that deck is good at all.
Really?
I think basically all she does is once she's equipped, she deals 4 damage. The swirls are very easy to avoid nowadays. It's basically they basically need like Mona end first or Dea end first. They need some sort of summon end to end first, and even then, like if they get a swirl, you could still avoid it. Like you swap to a character that doesn't have an element on it, and then she just deals 3 damage. That's a vanilla skill. Yeah, she forces some dice out of you when you swap, but at the end of the day, like even if you count the dice as being 1 positive for her, that's still like 2 dice, 3 damage. Not incredible. After she's equipped, sure she deals 4, but like there's characters that are dealing 4 for free essentially. Like
That's
by
fair.
the time she gets to be a threat, Jinyan has killed half of your team.
That's actually incredibly a fair call. So, yeah, after you said what you said, like, maybe I've got a bit of recency bias from her, putting her in consistently good, but being average actually makes a lot of sense. Yes, she was good for a while, and I think she showed up in Prince Cup. But she's kind of fallen off, and I think maybe out of the characters that have gotten the buff, like, I've seen Hu Tao doing things, Zhongli is definitely doing things, Kokomi is definitely been doing things. I think her getting the buff is the least impactful of the characters that got buffed to 12. So,
I think it's definitely impactful. I just like before the buff, I would have put her below average. Like I think she was like, yeah, she had a deck, but that's like low tier 3. She appeared in Prince Cup just because you needed to pick up like 7 decks or something. Like
that's
I don't think she's ever your first pick. Like I can't imagine her on the same tier as the Serpent. She's like I'm you I would absolutely pick a Serpent deck like 8 out of 10 times before a Gene deck. So I don't think she deserves that tier.
even now with the nerf.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I think I'll
Because
trust you on that take.
her skill is just vanilla a lot of the time. 3 damage, deal 3, and Snake at minimum is deal 3, draw 1. So I'd rather draw 1 when my card is useless.
Yeah, I think with
It
the
doesn't do much.
deck size that you play with in Genius Invocation, drawing cards is a lot more impactful than damage, in my opinion. Like, I remember a time when the meta was basically how fast can you draw your deck. That was with Lumenstone Countdown meta with Hyper Magic, I think.
Yeah. Also, it's worth noting that, as I said, it's kind of easy to avoid her swirls, and the newly buffed Anemo resonance is all about swirl damage, and like yeah, she. If you just if you just swap around a little bit, she's just gonna end up being a vanilla stat stick, which no buffs can help her with that.
That's actually fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think average, thinking about it now, average is probably safe for her. Like, yeah, she's scary with Aquila. She can use Sapwood Blade, but all of that you can also just use another character for, like the character that we're going to talk about now. And I'm like, since you're on stream with the Lynette profile, I will let you like handle Lynette in its fully, and wherever you want to put her, I'm going to just trust your opinion on that one.
I mean, to be fair, my Lynette icon is not because of the character card, it's because I like the character. But I think because she has a real deck, not like Jean with her. When she's combined with Jean, yes, that's technically kind of a real deck. You can use it, but Lynette has like a real deck, which is Superconduct with Cube.
I always forget about that deck.
Specifically. And Lynette is genuinely scary there. After you set up your summons and you apply a decent amount of elements, she is a very good anchor for the team. She is, with her survivability, the fact that she also has a summon that's pretty easy to get on the field. It's only 2 energy, 3 cost.
She also has really good self-sustain.
Yeah, exactly. Like she is a scary character on her own sometimes. And she does have a place. She does have a deck that I genuinely believe you can still play to this day. Maybe it's not the best, but it's like low tier 2.
No, yeah, that's completely fair. I will so say we're gonna settle on consistently good for her, since she always has a home. She's always good, and there is a lot of reason to pick her over a lot of other characters. Because, like, I just had a thought now as well. Her talent is an actual real card. Like, being able to force the swap, have the self-sustain, and just have it for free is kind of Jean plus.
Yeah. I mean, her talent is basically a must-have in Jean decks, because when you put her with Jean, because it just goes perfectly with her. But honestly, in a lot of decks, you don't even need it. It's just like 3 damage. Sometimes you heal. You get a summon at one point. Like, she's genuinely good enough. And in the decks where there is a deck where you just use her just because she's fit to win Anemo, which is with Farzan and Linny. And I haven't seen that deck in a while, but wouldn't be surprised if somebody pulls it out. That's another spot where you can play her, and she doesn't even need a talent for that. She can work without it, but when she does have it, she is scary.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's incredible.
My hot take is that Fatuizon was never really good. Like, that's just my hot take, is I was not a fan of Fatuizon. It feels like it had too many moving parts that were easily disrupted, and you just kind of never got where you wanted to get as if your opponent was half decent. It's the same problem with Shenhamo, where you need to be really, really good with Shenhamo to time your swirls so that you actually get the damage off that you've been hoping for.
I mean, yeah, see, here's the thing. I never managed to do well with the deck, but it somehow always beat me, so I don't know, maybe I just don't know anything about the deck, but yeah.
Maybe we're just actually bad players, and Fatuizon is the real source all along.
It was for a bit, yeah, but not now.
Fair enough. Also, Cube asks, is Serpent being good actually correct here? I think so.
Yes.
just for the sake of, like you said, with them printing more and more discard, it may just get scary again for no apparent reason. Especially if we get the other consecrated beasts like the flame one. But we still have the flame one to get.
I mean, he doesn't need more beasts. He just needs like as you get more discard synergy, at some point you're just gonna get to the point where he's just a generic discard filler. Specifically because one, he draws, and two, his burst can deal like 8 damage for 2 energy, 3 dice. If you just have, what is it, 4 blocks?
Yeah, that's 4 blocks.
Realistically, like, he's just a very good discard card, and to this day, the reason he is still played in like one deck from time to time, which is, I believe, APEP, I like he like I would the fact that out of all of the beasts, this one is one that sticks around. The fact that it is generic filler, yeah, it's because of the blocks. Yeah, it's because it's for the worst case. You don't want to actually use him. It's because sometimes he draws one, sometimes he can deal a bunch of damage with the burst. Most of the time it is for the blocks, but when you want the blocks, you're going with this one. You're not picking the other two.
That's fair. That's fair. Argument for niche, but that's fair. I don't think he's niche because historically speaking, Conwhale was such a brutal deck to actually play against that I know I was planning against, like, every deck that I was making was like, how do I deal with Conwhale? No matter how good I thought the deck was, it was always just like, how do I deal with Conwhale?
I mean, I could see niche if you think discard in general is niche. Because
fair enough. Yeah, Conwhale is
Conwhale
dead,
is
but
dead.
like
I think you can put him in niche if you consider discard niche, but if you consider discard to be a wide enough range of archetypes, I think you put him in good just because he is just good filler.
fair enough.
I don't think there's better discard filler as of right now.
Okay, fair enough. I think it boils down to like seeing what chat's saying and seeing what you're saying. I think it just boils down to a preference on how much an individual player values discard and is worried about it going forward.
Yeah, I mean, also, yeah, as Cube has mentioned just now, the only real archetype that runs this card is APEP, but the idea is that this card is gonna get supported, probably, most likely, and I don't see Consecrated Beast really dropping out when that happens. Like, I see him only getting better and better, if anything. But as of right now, yeah, niche, sure.
My opinion is that I've never seen a TCG not mess up discard. Discard inevitably always just ends up being one of the most broken mechanics no matter what like TCG you're playing. It was in Magic, it was a modern defining and legacy defining deck with Hollow One. For Shadowverse, one of the best Bloodcraft decks at the moment is Festive Bloodcraft, which is just a discard shell. Like with GITCG, we had a long period where you were playing Laboratory Ruins and Countdown to the Show just as a generic discard pile because it was good at generating a bunch of dice.
Yeah, I can add on like 2 or 3 games on top of that, but I don't think we need to keep going.
Yeah, fair enough. So now I'm going to talk about a character that I actually enjoy. I think Zhao is consistently good because, like, to the point where I will even put Zhao over Lynette because I think Zhao just has a whole lot going for him. The fact that after burst his normals get infused with Anemo, which means you can abuse it even more easily with something like Gladiator's Triumphus now, or what's it, Minty Meat Rolls, but the zero cost version, Northern Smoke Chicken. Like, I think, and this isn't just because of my love for Shenemo or Armory decks, I think Zhao just will always have a home because of such high consistent damage and being a polearm user, because the best weapon type in my opinion is just polearm. So having a 3 damage for 3 skills seems average until you're doing that for 1, and then it becomes 4 damage for 1 dice with a weapon. Burst is 5 damage, 6 with a weapon. Normal attack becomes 3, 4 with a weapon. Skill on the second time after you use burst becomes 6 for 3 as well. I think there's just a lot going for Zhao, and in my opinion, he's the single best 1v1 Anemo character.
Honestly, like his vanilla skill is just like, it's only good if you equip it, yeah. But I don't think that's the end of the world. You are going to equip him. I don't think making a case for him without weapon is ever worth it, because I don't think you should be running him without Moonpiercer.
Yeah,
Or
100%.
in the case of Armory, you also run the Lithic Spear, but yeah. I also think the big deal is his burst is just like generically good in my opinion. Like just the dealing 4 and then reducing swap costs is just something I would play without the buff to him.
So at base,
Like
it's
just,
actually a 5 damage burst.
how so?
As far as I'm aware, and I've played Zhao, if a Zhao's burst is 4, I will be extremely confused. Because I could swear that this burst is just 5 at base. Oh no, it is 4. Okay, I am completely wrong on that.
Yeah, you might just be swirling too much.
I might just be swirling too much. I might just be having weapons too much. But it's like you say, you never want to play him without Moonpiercer, but all his best decks just want Moonpiercer naturally. Like, if you're playing Shenemo, right, which I don't recommend unless you feel like having a really brutal time but some fun games, Shenhe can use Moonpiercer just as well, and Shenhe with Moonpiercer is a entirely scary threat all on her own, just because of the amount of damage that she can solo do. And if you're playing her in Armory, then Shenhe still just uses Moonpiercer. So you're basically playing a card that the deck wants already that just makes Zhao entirely better.
Yeah,
Also,
I mean,
like saying yeah, sorry, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, his burst, as I've said, like 4 damage and then getting a cost reduction is good at base, but then you just need to swap into him once to make him really good, I feel like, because with weapon and burst, he did what, 6 damage on a normal attack?
Yeah, that sounds
With
about
the
right.
cost reduction, making the swaps basically free. You use his burst, you go set up something on someone else, like maybe you reapply some buffs on or some elements with Shenhe, you swap back to him, and he deletes you. Like, I think it's very easy to get value off of him.
Fair. That's what I was gonna say now. Is like, he's good but relies on his burst. And Raiden isn't a good teammate, but I don't think you can ever like be running him with Raiden because you don't want to turbo out his burst. I think the burst, while being insanely good, is just kind of like the cherry on top, where the rest of his kit just deals so much damage innately that once you hit the burst, the game is pretty much over. If you're against any really, really good player who's used to using Zhao, and you get into a 1v1 situation with Zhao, you're probably just losing on the spot.
Here's the thing, as you mentioned, good players, and Raiden, I just remembered, didn't Jatnad somehow pull out a bunch of wins with Raiden, Bennett, Zhao, hypercarry?
I was
when?
about to say that deck was very legitimate.
I believe he is, in my opinion, like the best carry in the Raiden Bennett core. People have tried to make others work, but I think he's just the go-to.
Fair enough, fair enough. Let me try and catch up on chat.
Yeah, Zhao skill does only do 3 damage.
Yeah,
But
Zhao skill does only deal 3, but it
the
gets
thing
buffed
is,
after burst as well.
yeah, it gets buffed after burst, and also it's not just skill that you're using. After you quickly, he is bad before burst, but after burst, he is far better than Sucrose, and they cost about the same to get to them, and he has much easier access to weapons, so you don't mind doing 3 or 4 damage skills. Like oftentimes because of Moon Piercer, you just end up playing it for 3, and then playing out 2 skills for 4, and that's what, 8 damage. I
Yeah.
don't mind paying a total of 7 dice for 8 damage and then becoming a monster the next turn with burst.
The really scary thing as well is that, again, with like Unseen Razor Moon Piercer, if you go Unseen Razor Moon Piercer Covenant, you sometimes will just pick up wins out of nowhere after burst because you're dealing what, like 5-6 damage on a skill. You're dealing damage you shouldn't be doing just because he exists. The only reason in, and this is like a very biased take for me, the only reason I'm not putting him in meta defining is because before burst, he does take a little bit to get going. But it's like I said, once you have burst, you should just be winning the game on the spot. And for me, a telling part of that is that no matter how the meta has developed since he's come out, he's always been an irreplaceable character. Like in Anemo, I've done a whole bunch of different variations, but I always find myself with the core of Shenhe and Zhao. And that proves even when you go into Liyue Armory, where it's Shenhe, Zhao, and then a Hydro carry that also just happens to be able to use King's Squire, which is one of the better weapons.
Yeah. I Yeah, basically, I do think he will always find a spot because he's just such a good user of Moon Piercer. Like you, because you really want to get to that burst, having a weapon that reduces costs is just ridiculous. So I don't think he's I don't think he's probably ever going to be meta defining, but I do think he's consistently going to be in the meta somehow, somewhere through Moon Piercer alone.
I mean, Liyue Armory is still doing things. Like, I think Liyue Armory hasn't disappeared. It's gone down in usage rates, but even now in the current patch, like, it is doing things. Picking up and learning how to play Armory is just such a solid choice because it's got so many good matchups into so many good decks, and it always has. Because it can do a little bit of aggro. And like, I know I said this when I did the video on Shenhemo and before Armory, where like Armory is weird. You've got 2 modes to Armory. You can either go really, really fast, or you can kind of, because of Yellen, take it a little bit slower and play a more grindy, controlly game that you normally wouldn't be able to. And that's just due, like that fast mode that you deal with aggro decks is just due to Zhao having such good damage, especially with Shenhe, because if you go Shenhe skill, that's 3, into Zhao Moon Piercer, if you've got the reduction on Moon Piercer, we'll assume not, then you're going 7 dice, 8 for a swap, but then you're dealing 8 dice to deal 2 plus... No, that's 10 damage. If I'm mathing it out correctly, you're using 8 dice to deal 10 or 11 damage.
Somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere there. And to me, that's a very good rate. That's kind of a little bit above average in my opinion. Also, you should learn Armory first. If you want to play Shenhe and Zhao and like get consistent value from Zhao and Shenhe, Armory is just the best option. I am a, like, as Calamon would put it, I'm the number 1 Shenemo Glazer. But like, that's just because I really, really enjoy the deck and it reminds me of playing Burn in Magic the Gathering a lot. But Armory is just the very much superior deck. Also, saying he's carried by weapons outside of his burst, there's just too much you need for him, is a wild statement in my opinion, considering that all his decks just naturally want to play weapons to the point where, like, there is no reason to not be playing a weapon with him. It's the same case of where you play weapons, in Armory specifically, you're playing Lithic Spear, which generates 3 shields, you're playing Moon Piercer, which makes your skills cost 1, or you're playing King's Squire, which makes Yellen's skill cost 1. There is no situation where you're down playing a weapon because your weapons also generally end up being free in that deck.
I mean, yeah, it's also like saying that Yalan back when she was back in like what was it, 4.3, when Gilded came out, that Yalan was carried by Gilded. Like you're not going to run her without it. There's no reason to, and you're gonna get to it. And
Yeah.
when you do, she's gonna be disgusting, just how Zhao is not quite as disgusting, but still really powerful with a weapon. There's no point in making an argument for decks that you're just not going to play. Like, yeah, Zhan Yun could also be really bad if you just put her with really bad cards.
Yeah. Another thought I had now is like you were saying with decks, right? I think another really, really consistently like strong aspect of Zhao is that Zhao and Shenhe are both not fought for in other decks. Yellen, debatably, if you want to put her somewhere, but all the characters in Liyue Armory aren't really fought over by other decks, which means that you can comfortably almost have a free deck build if you're playing Conquest format for something like Prince Cup. You know you can just bring Liyue Armory if you want to without actually risking any of your other deck choices.
Yeah.
So I think consistently good at the top of consistently good is where I'm just happy putting him, and people can fight me on that hot take because Zhao I think is just one of the better Anemo characters and just one of the best characters in like GITCG from a single 1v1 damage standpoint. Moving on to Dvalin. I'm so putting Dvalin at below average because he's kind of clunkier version of Wanderer, and there's not much else I can say about him.
Yeah. Love his lair. Have not seen him since what was it, like 4.5, 4.6? Haven't back when people were trying out. That was around the time lair came out, I think. Like, yeah, people were just running him with Bennett. He's basically just like Cube, for example,
Yeah,
where he just does a bunch of damage in one skill, but like nobody cares.
The only decks I played him in was basically Electro Bennett, like Electro Cube with Bennett and Shenemo. And the only reason I tried him in Shenemo is because whenever they release a new Anemo character, I will play that Anemo character in Shenemo just to see if I can make the deck work again.
I mean, I did also see him in a variation of the Kenki Sara deck, where he can checkmate you if you don't know what you're doing, but I don't think that's real.
Fair enough. Like, look, if you get Shenhe Burst, he is scary. Having 3 Anemo infused attacks that just juggle around the swirl, but that's so much work just to get minimal effort that you would rather just have Zhao for. And in a 1v1, he's really not great.
Yeah.
Not onto an actual character of Sayu.
I mean, I remember when people started discovering her deck, and I immediately started running it in Castell Gathering. I was like consistently either tied for number 1 or number 1 for the first like 3 days, and then suddenly everybody started picking counters to Sayu. Not specifically because of me, but because everybody started running it. It was genuinely like the thing to beat at that point. It was, people did discover ways to beat it. It was fairly easy to beat, but the point is that for a while it was like the threat, and then after that, after people discovered ways to beat it, it's still stuck around for like here and there, and it hasn't really left. Like it's not seeing much play, but you can still play it if you want to. I think Sayu will basically never leave just because she's the best user of claymores. Like if there's ever a really high damage claymore, like Wolf's Gravestone, she's immediately gonna be the #1 pick for it. She was meta defining. She isn't anymore, but she is always going to stick around. So I think that is a fair spot for her. Yeah.
So like you say, you used it in Cast the Gathering. I did the same thing. Like, you were either running MES, the original Lumenstone Hyper Magic version of MES, or you were running a counter to MES. And the deck did suffer a lot if you had a opponent playing Overload. Like, that was just a real threat to the deck. But once you knew how to play around that, you could get the high rolls of like round 2 kills, where you just round 1 set up with Mona, or like open up in round 2, and then, well, oops, you lose because Sayu is now taking like 9 actions in a single turn. And
yeah.
like
Also,
I said, with Wolf Gravestone, the fact that she does 2 attacks means you get double usage from Wolf's Gravestone within the single turn that you are actually playing it. And if you were playing it off something like Wagner, then it was just free, and you lost like nothing for it.
yeah. Also, one thing to note is that usually you run her in gilded decks, which would 1/1 courtyard, which discounts it by itself. You don't even need to
Yeah.
run Wagner. You just discount the weapon to 1, and suddenly, Crab is dead. Suddenly, Crab is dead.
Yeah. Also, saying, is Sayu good, or is it Wolf's Gravestone that's good? I think it's Sayu, because you still legitimately can win matches. It's a little bit more difficult, but you can win matches solely off of Sayu. And the fact is, you are playing her talent. If you're playing those kind of decks, you're playing her talent. And draw 2 for free is, in my opinion, really like one of the best talents in the game, because it gets you to what you want. The problem is, I think majorly, is yes, Wolf's Gravestone does carry her, but because of Gilded Dreams, Shadow of the Sand King, and her talent itself, you almost never don't have Wolf's Gravestone. Like, if you don't have Wolf's Gravestone, you're low rolling really harshly.
Yeah. Also, like, whether or not her or Wolf's Gravestone being good, at the end of the day, you are playing her with Wolf's Gravestone. It's the same thing with Xiao. It's the same thing with who's another character that really wants a weapon. I can't think of any right now, but there's anytime you see a character that really wants a weapon, usually the reason you run them with the weapon is because it's really worth it. The reason you don't see weapons is because usually they're not worth the price they're asking. But with Sayu, yeah, sometimes in like 1 out of games maybe you might not get it on time, but most of the time you have enough draw to get it, and when you do, you're dealing like at baseline 5 damage per skill. If they're below 6 health, you could be dealing up to 11, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah, it's a lot.
no, wait, no, it's 9. It's 9. But still, 9 damage is ridiculous.
So there's actually a very good from Windbound comment here that's like, if you're not running Wolf's Gravestone, you should probably run another damage dealer though, right? Because her damage on its own sucks. And that actually leads me into Wanderer. Like, I'm going to expedite Wanderer a little bit, and I think Wanderer goes to meta defining as well. Like, if we're putting Sayu in meta defining, we have to do the same for Zhao. And not for Zhao, for Wanderer. And my reasoning for that is that Mew, like, you were either running MES or you were running Mew. I remember it was at Prince Cup that people were running the matchups between Mew and MES, because MES had different matchups that it would win in, and then Mew was often advantaged into MES and then certain other different matchups. At the end of the day, you were running Mona Eula, and then it was between your choice of Sayu or Wanderer, depending what you wanted to do with the deck. I think Mew and MES are probably some of the best decks that I've ever seen the face of the game. And just surely for that, I think Wanderer, like, he's got a lot of good personal damage. His skill dealing 2 feels a little bit rough, but his normal attacks there after dealing 3 do put him above, like, average. But I feel like for the same reason that Sayu being consistently good, we just, like, I don't feel comfortable not putting Wanderer right beside her, just because they basically existed in the same deck, just different variations.
Also, I just want to tackle Windbound saying whether or not we're ranking the characters or the weapons, you have to understand that this is a character-based game. None of the action cards are gonna win you the game by themselves. There's a reason most damaging cards are buffs. You run the cards in your deck for the characters. If a character can use a card and that card is good, then the character is good. And Wanderer is a perfect example of that, where he has an insane catalyst, with it reducing, with it giving you basically 2 dice per turn. That's just basically on the first turn you proc it. That's basically like Moonpiercer, and on the second, that's better than Moonpiercer. So the Wolf's Gravestone is obviously the better weapon, but we have to remember that both of them are ran in decks that could easily access weapons, and if the weapon is good, then they are good. And yeah, and
That's,
also
I think, a very,
whether
very
or not
good solid take.
and also 20DX argues that Mew should be consistently good because it had matchup problems, and Kobe is asking whether or not Wonder is on the same level as Sayu because she's been in the meta since release and he sometimes dips out of it. And I that personally, because I do remember when Mew first appeared, it had to fight with like Yelan. It had to fight with like other magic decks that were kind of better. And then honestly, its best time was when MES was good, but then afterwards it fell out harder than MES did. So you could argue that he's consistently good instead, but I would argue he's at the bottom personally of meta defining, or at the top of consistently good, but I do think he hangs around either one.
Yeah, I think he is just such a solid character, and it's like I've said already, he basically did what Sayu did, just in a different flavor. Where, for the Prince Cup that I know this happened for, you were either making your choices of, do I bring MES or do I bring Mew? And I know that certain players brought Mew because they found that certain matches were advantaged of it as well. Like, when people started running MES a lot in the Castle Gathering, I just switched to Mew because I got the same game plan that I was after, but you are advantaged at Mew into MES just because you could threaten a little bit better, I want to say. The decks are really just the same flavor, but just different flavors, I guess.
Yeah, they are more or less just the one options, or they together are the 2 options for an Anemo character with a good weapon that can function in swirl freeze kind of decks. And also Kobe mentioned that we should consider the best version of the character that is realistically achievable, including equips, and I absolutely agree with that, but the keyword is realistically. That's why they are so high up here, because it's very realistic to get their weapons and artifacts.
Yeah, especially
so much though.
During the era that I would say MES and Mew had their peaks, where you were able to just legitimately play Wagner and Timaeus comfortably. Like, you could do the run of going Mona skill, Timaeus or Wagner, and Liban. That was your turn 1. That was just your turn 1, and then you would open on turn 2 and go to your carry, whether that was Wanderer or whether it was Sayu, and then you kind of just put free Gilded Dreams, free 1,000 Floating Dreams. I think Wanderer abuses 1,000 Floating Dreams more than almost any other character can. You would just put the weapon, the Gilded Dreams. You were playing Golden House anyways. Like, their best versions, you were drawing your entire deck extremely quickly. So if you didn't have those weapons, you were just low rolling. Like, your deck just obviously hated you that day. with 20DX saying, and the counterplay people found out that was ramp 8 start, which changed the entire meta around that. Exactly. Like, the only way to counter it was basically to just out-ramp it or out-damage it, and out-damaging it was incredibly difficult since you didn't care what happened to Mona past the first skill, because Mona summon would apply 2 instances of Hydro for 3 dice, and if you weren't able to capitalize on that between swirling it and then freezing out and closing the game with Eula Shatter between the next 2 to 3 rounds, you probably weren't winning anyways.
Yeah. Both of them are just really scary, you know?
Yeah, which is why I just feel like I should be putting them really, really close to each other, because the decks are just scary. You can probably pick up a variation of the deck now, and it won't be as good, but you will probably absolutely definitely do things. I know there's a recent-ish version of MES which runs Hydro Herald and Chongyun instead of Eula Mona. I personally prefer the Mona version just because you have that fast swap, but I can see Chongyun over Eula in current, and especially if you're running him with Sayu, because Sayu, being a Claymore character, is able to take advantage of the normal attack infusion to get self-freeze.
Yeah, I do prefer Chongyun personally, but as for the Hydro character, yeah, Mona's the vote.
Yeah, I think Mona, it's like when we do Hydro tier list, I will have to, and I'm saying this now, I will have to put Mona at the top of meta defining, because there's nothing wrong about that character that I can see. Like, that character is entirely scary and does way too much. Having a built-in fast swap allows for probably some of what most degenerate decks to have ever existed in the game, like just to exist on the back of that single fast swap.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about Wonder, probably.
There's some actually really good, like, where like so Mona Sayu Chongyun plays more control than you, but it's a lot more complex, which makes it better if you get more practice, which is true. I will agree on that. It's a little bit more resilience to disruption, and that's due to Chongyun. But with Wanderer, is Chongyun still better? No.
No.
I think, Mirror Maiden Sayu Chongyun. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I actually forgot about that version. I forgot they started playing Mirror Maiden. Like, I'm gonna be real honest. I think that version isn't very good. I've tried it. I do not think it's very good. I think the benefit, though, to running, like, Mirror Maiden or Hydra Herald is in Conquest formats, where you can bring both Sayu and Wanderer and have the 2 decks do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you're basically just playing
way,
duplicate decks at that point.
I mean, there's no point in arguing about the Hydro character in this case, because the Anemo character is never gonna change.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, everything else may change, but there's still, that's what the ship of Theseus, where no matter how many changes you make to it, it's still the same deck. Like,
yeah.
So, like, yeah, enough on Wanderer now. Venti. Like, I honestly don't know where to rank Venti. Venti Z was a legitimate deck, but I've never seen him outside of that deck.
I mean, the thing about Venti Z is, as far as I can recall, it was around for like a patch. Like, I think it was around when they introduced weapon bounce, like the Where's the Unseen Razor, but before Magic, before Gilded. And when Magic came out, it should be the deck that should work best with it, but in reality, it just kind of didn't do as much as other swirl Magic decks. And Venti was pretty much only used in that. Nowadays, if you want swap options, like, he is basically just used for the discount on his skill. Like, well, in Venti Z specifically, he was also used because he can equip the weapon, the bow, King Squire, which is useful, but nowadays if you're going bow Anemo characters for King Squire, you're not going Venti, you have Farzan now.
Yeah, you
If
just
you're
have
going for
Farzan
swapping, you have Zhang Yun.
and Zhao.
His burst is yeah, but I mean like swapping as in cost reduction. Because that is like the big thing he had going for him. And honestly, I can't even remember fully what his burst does because it doesn't do much, honestly.
2 damage
It's
and
like-
then forces a swap in the opposite direction that Overload would.
No, it's closest to your current active character.
Yeah,
So-
that one.
It's really weird.
it's that one, but like you say, it doesn't actually do a whole lot.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point is that it deals animal damage, it swirls, and then you change to a character that has the element applied to them so you can swirl again, maybe, but at the end, but it also consumes the element, so it oftentimes doesn't work that way. And like at that point, just run Kazuha. Kazuha's burst does like a similar thing. I don't know. Venti genuinely has like nothing going for him nowadays.
That is honestly incredibly fair. So like that just brings us to the last character, and like I've noticed that this tier list has taken us a lot quicker than Pyro. Like yes, we do have 5 less characters, but I feel like that's actually really kind of interesting. Where would we put Farazan? I feel like good is a safe place to put her because she does exist and she does do things, but those things just nowadays aren't that good, and it boils back down to I didn't think that Fatuizan was a real deck, but a lot of people respected it. So like out of those people, I would have to say that maybe it was good. Like her being able to use King Squire, having naturally built in like momentum disruption where you can force them to end on a certain character, it being infused helps with swills. Her summon buffing Anemo damage has its uses, but I don't really know where to put her at the moment, like aside from good. Thinking about it now, when I did the latest version of Shenemo, I ended up using Farzan just sheerly because she's able then to use the same shell as what Armory would, and she benefits the deck in that way, but then you're basically just playing a worse version of Armory, where you go slightly faster, but you don't have that as much of a long game freeze option, which is something I mentioned in that video as well.
Yeah, I can mention a couple of other decks that are also coincidentally not that good. But she is one of the reasons why Kenki is in consideration, which the third character that we forgot about is her. I just remembered it. It's Kenki Sarah Farzan, because the whole summon setup relies on Farzan's summon being last, I believe.
Yeah.
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 It's Kenki, Cryo Anemo, and then Sarah Electro, and then Farzan Anemo. But either way, she has a spot there. She is good. There's another deck, which is, as we have been mentioning, Sayu. There is a double Anemo version of that deck, which I just remembered somebody should probably try now that Anemo Resonance is buffed.
I could see it.
That is like the go-to Hydro Swirl deck, I think. Like, basically, I think that's basically it. It's just for Tuizan, the Kenki deck, and the Sayo deck, but the Sayo deck's not real because you'd rather play with a Cryo character, you'd rather play Gilded Dreams and everything.
Yeah, 100%.
The Kenki deck is somewhat real, but only for specific players, honestly. And the Tuizan deck, currently not real. But I don't think she's bad. I do think there's a reason she's been played in so many decks. I do think she's done some work. I do think if at any point you want to run a King Squire character,
She's
a
solid
King
for it,
Squire
yeah.
Anemo character, she's the go-to. And if she is like, her talent is unironically pretty good.
Yeah, that is true.
Like,
That is actually true.
it's not run that often, but yeah, I mean, having one extra dice basically for free can be nice.
Yeah.
It is basically like a Tenshukaku that doesn't cost you anything in reality. Well, it does cost you one card, but it doesn't cost you any extra dice. Like, she's not like bad. She has a lot of, but I don't think she's up there with the rest.
For me, I think it's a case of she has an incredibly solid kit that you want to use every single part of, but there's just never a deck around her that can work, if that makes sense. Like, she is good, but it's more the fact of she doesn't have supporting characters. It's like I'm going to say with Jinyan. Jinyan is really good, but the characters around her almost never matter because you're just doing Jinyan things.
I mean, yeah, basically, if you're running Farzan, it's just because she just has good numbers on her. Like, she deals 3 damage, and then she reduces the cost of her normal attacks. Buffs her damage with the bars, gets you a summon, can get you an extra dice. Like, she's a very good stuff card, but like, she doesn't really have a home. She's not particularly great or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, to just talk about like Anemo Res, I personally don't think the nerf to Anemo Res was a nerf. Yes, it's not like you don't get the dice back for the swap anymore. You do still have to pay 1 for the swap. But I think the new Anemo Res is just a buff. Like, I absolutely love the new Anemo Res. All the changes to the reses they make, like, I am there for it.
I mean, yeah, if you're gonna be running 2 Anemo, it's 4 swirls, so it makes sense to buff swirl damage.
Yeah.
I do think she benefits from it. All of her decks run swirls, so yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's also like a thing of when you like Anemo Res now in Shenhamo is like the only reason that I would actually pick up Shenhamo over Armory now. And that's just because dealing -4 cryo swirls just it feels criminal. Like, it just does feel criminal.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's about like the only reason to me is
it's funny that we mentioned Anemo Res on the last character in the Animal tier list, but it's the only relevant one in this.
Yeah, it's always been a super good card, I think. Both Anemo, like Res, has always just been a super good card. I just like the new version more. It feels more comfortable to me. Like, I wish they kept the dice fixing on it, but yeah, it's inconsequential at the end of the day. So,
yeah.
Now that we've spoken about all the characters, are there any changes you would like to make from your experience?
I don't think anybody's moving up or down. Within tiers, I think meta defining is fine. I do think Sayo is the best Anemo character. Inconsistently good, I don't particularly care. Both are just good carries. In good, I could see Serpent being the worst one of the 3 currently.
Okay. So move Serpent's the last one.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any point to discussion whether or not Devalan or Venti is better. So I do think that tier list is fine.
Okay, cool. Because like I'm happy with this. This just boils down to like I would like almost put Zhao here, but I feel like Zhao is weird where he sits like half in the tier like this. Where at his best he feels like he's meta defining, but calling him meta defining would just be a little bit misleading.
Yeah, Zhao is kind of like a pocket pick. He's good, but he's a pocket pick.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't have anything more to say on that, so was a little bit of a shorter stream today, like much shorter stream than what we did last time. But I am gonna call it there. So thank you for joining me. I really did appreciate that. You always bring a lot of very valuable insights from a different perspective. Like, I've got my own perspectives and I play this game a lot, but you do just have your own preferences, and I think that brings some valuable information to the table. Chat also brings a lot of valuable information to the table, so I'm actually enjoying doing these live. Anything else you want to say as closing comments?
About the Anemo characters?
Yeah,
Not really.
just in general, like.
I don't particularly care.
Fair enough.
Uh, as you mentioned, special insights. I think. What are we left with? Dendro, Cryo, Hydro, Geo.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Dendro, there's gonna be a lot of very peculiar opinions from me. In parentheses.
Fair, absolutely enough. Dendro is going to unironically be a burning hot take of a tier list.
Maybe, yeah. I do think it's gonna be the most random untake in my opinion, but you're gonna see.
Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. I am just gonna end here. Sorry for not going longer, everyone. In case you've missed the Twitter announcement, I will be taking a hiatus after this week. Some stuff has happened, and I won't be able to be as present for content creation for the rest of the patches. I think about just under 3 weeks. There'll be a video tomorrow. I've already recorded that. I've edited that. Everything is ready for that, so I will make sure that that video is up tomorrow. But then you probably won't be seeing much of me for the next 2 to 3 odd weeks. If I feel like I have enough energy, or if I feel like I've got the mental space to do it, I will put up a video. But otherwise, I'll be hanging out in the Discord. I will probably still run anime nights. Yeah, no, that's about for me. As to which element is next, I haven't decided that yet. I will probably think about that while I'm on break. But yeah, because I probably won't be seeing you all much again for a little while. Stay safe, stay hydrated, look after yourselves, and I'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye-bye.